Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Red Monday. Kansas City Chiefs football tonight, wrapping up week number 5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we are breaking it all down on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. We are with you for the next 3 hours on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And on video, our streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thanks so much for being part of the audience here on 580 Sports Talk. My name's Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. We are with you for the next 3 hours. That is your reward for making it through another Monday. And we will get you ready for Chiefs football. When we are done at 6, we'll hand the baton to the Chiefs Radio Network. Mitch Holtis and company from Jacksonville, Florida, where tonight the Kansas City Chiefs try to make it 3 wins in a row after an 0-2 start. So they take on the upstarts, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who carry a 3-1 record into tonight's game. Kickoff set for 7:15. Pre-game again at 6 o'clock right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. And you know how we preview games here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll give you our keys to the game. We'll have our predictions, both straight up and against the spread. We will also, of course, give you our big Chief picks of the week. One of us, won't say who, but it's me, has had a real knack for identifying the big Chief. I'm going a little out on a limb for tonight's. But we'll get to that here in just a little while. We'll also be joined in this opening hour of the show by our NFL insider, Matt Verderame. He'll join us in about half an hour from now. We'll get Matt's thoughts on tonight's Chiefs-Jags tilt and also the rest of the Week 5 action in the NFL. Kind of a sleepy week, a lot of blowouts. The evening session got a little weird. There was the shootout in Seattle. Arizona lost a game in maybe the most horrific or hilarious, I guess it depends on your perspective, fashion that it is possible to lose a football game in. The early session of games was a dog's breakfast. Sunday Night Football was really good, and maybe the national coming out party for Drake Maye. We'll get into that with Matt for sure. But we'll take a look around the league and recap Week 5 in the National Football League with Matt, and we'll do some talking about that later on in the show. We've also got a full weekend of college football to digest, and in case you weren't clear, it is clear now, and it is probably irreversible at this point. It is one of those years for the Kansas State Wildcats, and no program is immune from having one of those years. K-State, you're having one. Kansas State is 2-4 with a positive point differential. That is a true statement. They are 2-4, and they have outscored their opponents by a single point combined in this 2025 season. That's how thin the margins are. And once again, Kansas State comes down on the wrong side of them. And when that is the case, there are lots of reasons that happens. Curious pass interference flag late? Sure. Special teams foibles? Absolutely. Poor clock management? Don't get me started yet. Don't get me started yet. Wait till the 4 o'clock hour. And I've got some stuff to say about how the coaching staff handled the end game in Waco in K-State's 35-34 loss to Baylor. But there can be no getting around it now. Kansas State is mired in one of those years where it just ain't your year. And that's too bad, because you can see at their best, they can beat anybody in the Big 12. The unfortunate part is anybody in the Big 12, with the exception of Oklahoma State probably, and West Virginia, but they don't play them, can beat Kansas State. And sometimes you eat the bear, and sometimes you spend 12 fall Saturdays getting eaten by the bear. And K-State literally eaten by bears. Not literally, but figuratively, because Baylor's the Bears. See, never mind. We'll get more into the K-State game. I'll stop mixing metaphors and similes and literals and figuratives, and we'll get into the meat and potatoes of another frustrating gut punch of a K-State loss. KU looked like they were headed for one of those. But the defense held firm, and the Jayhawks get out of Orlando with a 7-point victory over the UCF Knights on Saturday night. You wouldn't think one player on defense could make that much of a difference, but Bangally Kamara did. Plus, having a functional running game. First time we've really seen that from KU this season. And granted, you have to consider the quality of the opposition, but still, the quality running game went a long way towards the Jayhawks rallying from an early deficit and beating the Knights to keep their Big 12 title game hopes alive. We'll have a recap of that and the rest of week 6 in college football. Who's biffed it harder? Who's eaten the dirt more resoundingly in this 2025 season? Is it Penn State or is it Texas? Because those were the preseason number 1 and number 2 teams in the AP Top 25. And you know where they're ranked this week? They're not. That doesn't happen very often. That's where we find ourselves. It's just one of those years in college football. No one is safe. We'll recap the week that was in the Big 12 plus, or in college football and in the Big 12, where we've got one team that might be head and shoulders above everybody else. And we've got 2 teams that are in the toilet. And I feel like everybody else in the league can beat anybody else in the league. I really do. So we'll get into that later on in the program. Plus our typical Monday shenanigans. We'll do 580 Sports Talk headlines, including an MLB playoff roundup in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll start a new week of What Is Wrong With You. We got Good, Bad, Ugly from the weekend that was coming up in a little while as well. Plus your interaction with the show today. Want to hear from all of you. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429 is that number, 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat if you are watching our YouTube stream. Hello to all of our live viewers on YouTube and all of our chatters so far this afternoon. Paul, first one through the breach today. Good afternoon to Paul, Mark, Vance, Andrew, also in on today's show. Appreciate hearing from you. Look forward to having more of you hop in that live chat over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And go subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're 75 subscribers shy of our stretch goal of 900. Gets us to 580 Sports Talk karaoke. Who's our hero today that's going to get us one step closer? I know you're out there. I know you're listening. Slam that subscribe button on the YouTube app, 580 Sports Talk. And if you're watching the show on the YouTube, hop in that live chat, say hello, interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts as we go along today. One other piece of business before we get into our keys to the game for Chiefs Jags tonight. We got a new contest going on over at 580WIBW.com. The Fall Cash Contest has started today. We're giving away $2,000 a day every weekday this week and next. So we got 10 lucky winners win $2,000. And what you got to do to win, have a chance to win, go to our website, 580WIBW.com. Top left of the page, you see contest. You see the link that says $2,000 every weekday for 10 lucky winners, just like I just specified. You're going to click on that link, and every hour, we're going to give you a keyword. You're going to hear it, or during 580 Sports Talk, we're going to give it to you, and you'll enter the keyword. Simple as that. You've done contests like this before. You enter the keyword, you enter your information, you're entered into the contest. You got your chance to win $2,000. Obviously, the more keywords you enter during the course of a day, the better a chance you have to win for that day. If you don't win one day, you can try to win the next. If you win one day, you're probably not going to win 8 times. That's not usually how it works. Nobody's that lucky. Anyway, your keyword for this hour, and this keyword is only good until 4 o'clock, at which point we'll do another keyword in the 4 o'clock hour. But your keyword for this hour is win, which is what we hope you do. Win, W-I-N, win is the keyword. Again, 580WIBW.com. Tap that keyword in to win $2,000. We're giving away $2,000 every weekday. It's our fall cash contest at 580WIBW.com. All right, that is the business. Let's get to the pleasure. Let's get to some football. Let's get to our Red Monday Chiefs breakdown. Chiefs, Jaguars tonight. Last I had checked, they had backed off the rain prediction a little bit. I know earlier in the week there was a thought, oh man, it might do nothing but rain. Last I had checked, it looked like about a 25% chance of rain in Jacksonville tonight. That is what it still says. My last check over at NFLweather.com, which is a very real website. So chance of some storms tonight, but could stay dry as the Chiefs try to win their third in a row after that 0-2 start. Prime time, Monday Night Football on the road at Jacksonville. We've all got keys to the game, even though I'm the only one reading them. And I'll start with mine. And the biggest key to this game for me is, can you take care of the football? Because the teams that have played the Jaguars have not taken care of the football. And the Jaguars have forced 13 turnovers, which is the most in the National Football League. They've forced at least 3 turnovers in every single game. When they are not turning you over, they don't really get a lot of stops. The way they get stops is taking the ball away. It's not a defense that's particularly stellar against the run. It's not a defense that's particularly stellar against the pass. What they have been stellar at doing is taking the ball away. What the Chiefs have been equally stellar at doing is not giving it away. Only 1 turnover in 4 games for the Chiefs offense, and that one was an accident. That was Travis Kelce dropping a pass into the lap of Andrew Mukuba at the goal line against the Eagles. And it's especially important to take care of the ball because, look, we could do this every single week. We could do it all 17 regular season games and on through January, which we've been fortunate to see a lot of January and February football from the Chiefs, and so do a lot of these game preview shows over the years. We could do take care of the ball every single game, right? Obviously, it's the key to the game. Don't lose the turnover battle. Chiefs are in great shape if they don't lose the turnover battle. Chiefs are the only team in the NFL with a winning record when they don't win the turnover battle in the Mahomes era, by the way. I think they're like 25-20 when they lose the turnover battle, which is hysterical. Anyway, taking care of the football, always important. But I think the circumstances of this game in particular, it's prime time. It's going to be a loud crowd. There's going to be a chance of rain and weather maybe impacting this game. And if you're turning the ball over early and you get behind, Jacksonville's going to be happy to melt clock and run the football and play keep away from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. So ball security is really, I think, the highest priority because I have a lot of trouble seeing what the path to victory for Jacksonville is if they don't get 2 or more turnovers against the Chiefs. And even then, like I said, they're turning you over at least 3 times every game. Last week, they forced 4 turnovers in their win over the 49ers. So take care of the ball. Don't give it away 3 or 4 times. I don't know how Jacksonville wins this game if they don't win the turnover battle. I have trouble seeing that as a possibility. So that is, to me, the key to the game. Number 2, I think you want to get the Jaguars into 3rd and long, which means being good against the run on 1st and 2nd down, putting the game in Trevor Lawrence's hands. You know the worst quarterback in the league at the deep passes right now? It's Trevor Lawrence. And that's even with Brian Thomas on his team, who might be one of the premier deep threats in the National Football League. No quarterback has been less valuable throwing the deep ball than Trevor Lawrence. You know whose defense is the best in the league at stopping the deep ball? Most valuable defense against deep passes this season? It's the Chiefs. So that's a matchup you really like if you're Kansas City, but you can't get into that matchup if you're in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. Keep Trevor Lawrence in difficult situations and put the game in his hands because that is what is not working in year 1 under Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. The running game has worked. Trevor Lawrence has not gotten a bump from Liam Cohen's play calling. Put the game in his hands. Get to 3rd and long. Make him try to beat you over the top because that's not something the Chiefs have allowed teams to do this season. Other keys to the game for the rest of the staff, Brendan points out, and Spencer does too, the need to generate pressure against Lawrence. When the Chiefs generate pressure, they have been very successful. They're not giving up a lot of successful plays. They're 6th in the NFL in EPA against, expected points added against, when they generate pressure, when there is pressure on a quarterback. The Jaguars' offense is one of the 10 worst in the league in EPA per play when being pressured. It's not a bad offensive line for the Jaguars. They got a couple of guys who can play, but it's not a fortress. It's not Philadelphia's offensive line. So the Chiefs are going to have to pressure Trevor Lawrence. And they're probably going to have to do it with the blitz because the four-man rush hasn't been super effective. I will see Mike Dana tonight. Mike Dana, I'll get it right eventually. I really thought it was Dana all these years. Mike Dana, I really think his return should help. I think that the increase in snaps from Ashton Gelati helps. I think those things help because it's less Charles Omenihu, and that's not because I think Charles Omenihu is a bad player, but I just think less Omenihu is more because you get more out of him when he's more of a rotational piece than a starting piece. Trevor Lawrence against Steve Spagnuolo. Remember the numbers the last time that Jacksonville faced the Chiefs. Lawrence was not good. He was 22 of 41 for 216 yards. He did not throw a touchdown. He was sacked 4 times. So Spag's not going to be afraid to dial it up. We know that. I would prefer to see the Chiefs be able to win with 4 a little bit more often. They got a little closer to doing that against Baltimore. We'll see if they can do it again tonight. Again, that might be tough if the rains come in. I always feel like rain benefits the offense. If the ground's wet, it helps to know where you're going. And the offense always knows where they're going, more so than the defense with the ball, right? So defensive line, got to generate pressure. Spag's going to have to dial some stuff up. Brennan also asking for the Chiefs to spread the wealth is his second key to the game. He writes, I believe this offense is and will be at its best when spreading the ball around and not overemphasizing individual skill position players. A more even running back rotation, more Brashard Smith is in all caps here. Even-ish target share to multiple wide receivers, I think is the best way to spread out what has been a surprisingly good Jacksonville defense. That's what was so impressive about Mahomes' effort against the Ravens. So they threw 4 touchdowns, 4 different guys. That really did feel, in so many ways, that performance felt like the Chiefs of old. But that is one of the things that maybe we didn't talk about a bunch in the aftermath of the Baltimore game, was that it felt like you didn't know where the ball was going to go. The Chiefs have gotten a little bit predictable maybe with their offense and their offense in certain situations. And unpredictability is a positive. And I have a feeling like we're going to see, it's not going to go 0 to 60 with Brashard Smith, but you'll see a little bit more of him this week and a little bit more of him the week after that and a little bit more of him the week after that until gradually he's getting about 10, 15 snaps a game and getting some more touches, because he's real dynamic out of the backfield. Spencer's keys, I mentioned dialing up pressure with blitzes to try and get Lawrence off schedule. That's obviously going to be important. Also says you got to use the run to open up the pass. If Pacheco can get some good yards early, can open up the deep ball game without forcing it. I know there was some consternation, speaking of the deep ball game, about Xavier Worthy. He popped up on the injury list yesterday. Apparently his ankle swelled up on the team plane on the flight into Jacksonville, but sounds like all systems are go, that there's not any real concern. It was just, again, the Chiefs are very thorough about what they put on the participation list, what they put on the injury list. They want to be thorough. They don't want to get fined. It was probably precautionary more than anything that they had to put Worthy on there with this questionable diagnosis, but it sounds like he is going to be good to go. Obviously, it will be week 2 of getting to see him and Tyquan Thornton on the field together and get a chance to see what that looks like and how that speed dynamic on either side can help open things up on the offense, how that opens up the middle of the field for the likes of Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster. And yeah, how that gets the safeties to back off just a little bit and open some things up in the running game. More under center run plays. Chiefs have been really good at that so far. I want to see maybe some more of that, especially, again, if it gets a little choppy, it gets a little wet on the field, let's see the Chiefs mush some people. Let's see them try and get a little push in the running game and be physical. One other stat that I think will be definitional, is that a word? Defining, maybe a better one to use. But I do think this is a stat that could have a major say in how tonight's game turns out. The Chiefs have been really good in the red zone defensively. They're 9th in the league in red zone touchdowns allowed. They've been solid in the red zone. The Jaguars offense stinks out loud in the red zone. Just outside the bottom 5. They're 27th in the NFL in red zone touchdown percentage. They score touchdowns on less than 45% of their forays into the red zone. The Chiefs giving off those vibes last week of, you're not going to beat us with field goals. I think it will be very interesting to see how Jacksonville fares if they get into the red zone. One way to keep them from getting in the red zone, don't turn the ball over. Starting field position for Jacksonville has been really, really good all season long. So all of these things tie in. Take care of the football, run it effectively, and lock the rock, get some pressure defensively, get into 3rd and long. I don't think the Chiefs lose if they don't turn it over a bunch. We'll get into our predictions. Want to hear yours. 785-272-9429. Can also hit us in the YouTube comments, the YouTube live chat, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Want your predictions as well. We got ours coming up, plus Matt Verderame. Got a whole weekend of NFL and college football to talk about on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. .331 on 580 Sports Talk. 6 o'clock tonight, pregame coverage right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 on the Chiefs radio network. The Chiefs and the Jaguars, 7:15 kickoff. They kick it 10 minutes earlier than Sunday Night Football. I do not know why.
It's actually 5 minutes earlier.
Okay.
Sunday Night Football, 7:20.
The Chiefs,
I always screwed that up too.
The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites according to Prairie Band Sportsbook up at Prairie Band Casino Resort in Maye. Out of the total is 45.5. Spencer Dupuis, you are 3-1 straight up and against the spread and to the total. And you received a big Chief point last week because George Karlaftis was your guy and he had a sack. So what are you going with this week? Who do you like? What do you like on the spread and the total? And who is your big Chief?
Well, I've been tinkering with this for the last 24 hours because I heard it was supposed to be like a monsoon. And then I've read that the weather moved out. It's supposed to be later in the night. And there might be maybe a storm popping through, but it doesn't seem like the weather is going to have a big impact on this game as I thought it would maybe on Friday when we were talking about it, that it was supposed to rain throughout the game. It appears like the rain's going to hold off for the most part. So I think a lot of points are going to be scored. I have the over in points with 48 total points. I have the Chiefs winning 31-17, obviously covering that 3.5. And I have Tyquan Thornton as my big Chief pick.
I'm going with the Chiefs to cover as well. I've got a 10-point win, 27-17. That's under the total, not by a lot, but I do think both defenses are good. I think that the Chiefs will not probably get to the 30s again against this Jags defense. But again, if the Chiefs don't give it away and give the Jaguars advantageous field position, I don't know that Jacksonville is going to spend all night driving the ball up and down the field. For what it is worth, I am 2-2 straight up and against the spread, but I'm also 3-1 to the total. I have 3 big Chief points. I took Xavier Worthy last week. That one worked out well for me. So my big Chief picks have been pretty on point. I'm going out on a limb, though, this week, though. I'm going with Jaden Hicks because I think he's getting an interception. I think the Chiefs are going to turn the Jags over at least once. I think Jaden Hicks is going to pick a deep pass at some point in this game as Trevor Lawrence continues to be turnover prone. I'm on the under. Jaden Hicks is my big Chief. Brendan is 3-1 straight up, 3-1 to the spread, 2-2 to the total. Does not yet have a big Chief point this year. He's still looking for his first. We each pick a big Chief. How do you get a point? Your player has to do something good. Your player has to have a good game. That's not an unreasonable standard for the big Chief point. It's not one per week either. We could all get points, potentially. If George Karlaftis has another sack this week, for instance, Brendan's going to get a point because that is his big Chief. He is the only one of us not picking the Chiefs to cover, but does believe that the Chiefs will win. He's also on the over as well. 25-22 is Brendan's pick. He's got the Chiefs by a field goal. Again, George Karlaftis is his big Chief pick. Special teams, always interesting on a night where you might have some weather. They have been a bit more of a consternation for the Chiefs with the struggles of Harrison Butker, having missed at least one kick each and every week. But maybe this is the week that the typically reliable veteran kicker solves his issues. The YouTube live chat, all on the Chiefs to cover tonight, at least the picks we've seen so far. Andrew likes the Chiefs by 14. Mark's on the Chiefs by 10 and lots of points, 34-24. Vance likes the Chiefs by 11, 28-17. So him and I are in roughly the same boat there. We will take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, it's our NFL insider, Matt Verderame, joining the show to preview Chiefs Jags and take a look around the rest of the league on week 5. This is 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by our NFL insider, Matt Verderame, who covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also appears on that football show, the KC Sports Network, and has his own subscribers-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show. He joins us every Monday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk, typically reacting to a Chiefs game, but today getting to preview Monday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Jags. So let's start here, Matt. The Jaguars are 3-1 and doing it on defense with a boatload of turnovers each week. Strip away the turnovers if you can. What else has impressed you about this Jags team on their 3-1 start?
Well, Travis Etienne's been great. I mean, he's averaging more than 6 yards a carry, which no other running back that qualifies in the league is doing. I think, you look at them and they're winning on the margins. As you mentioned, they have 13 takeaways. Nobody has that many. They're +9 to turnover ratio. Nobody is better than that. They have a dynamic return game. Parker Washington had, I believe, it's 87-yard punt return for a touchdown against the Niners that they don't win without. This is a team that, quite frankly, has kind of won in spite of their quarterback. Trevor Lawrence has not been good, but they've won around his play. Now, I do think the turnovers, you have to mention it. I mean, look, that has been an enormous part of their success. They've had at least 3 takeaways in every game. If that continues on Monday night, the Chiefs are going to lose. However, the Chiefs have 1 turnover this year, which is the fewest in the NFL. I was doing some research on this and couldn't believe this. I triple-checked it, but it is accurate. When the Chiefs, regular season or postseason, have won the turnover battle, they have not lost since week 6 of 2019. They are 38-0 in their last 38 games if they have more takeaways than you do. So that is the game tonight. If the Chiefs win the turnover battle, they're going to win the game. If Jacksonville wins it, then they've got a shot, and obviously, the higher they win it by, the +2, +3, the more the better chance to have. But I think that's the game. Jacksonville has to take the ball away from Kansas City.
You mentioned offensively, Travis Etienne's been the star for the Jaguars, and Liam Cohen's always had some really creative running game stuff in his bag as a play caller. But for anybody hoping that Trevor Lawrence was going to make a leap with a new head coach, that has, at least to this point, not happened. What do the Chiefs need to do to make tonight's game about Lawrence?
I think for the Chiefs, you play as much base as you can. You run blitz like crazy on early downs. And if you get them in 3rd and long or 2nd and long, you just go after Lawrence. It's not a great line. Lawrence is not overly mobile. He will throw picks. He's thrown 4 this year. I think for the Chiefs, this is the game where you just say, look, our secondary can hold up man on man. They're not afraid to bring 5 or 6 guys. I think in this game, if you're Steve Spagnuolo, your number 1, 2, and 3 goals are to stop Etienne if at all possible. I mean, look, he's going to have a run here and a run there, but if you can limit him to any extent, I think it just becomes very hard for that offense. They're not a good offense. I mean, this is a team that, quite honestly, has struggled at times to get over 20 points in the game offensively. They didn't do it against San Francisco. They didn't do it against Houston. And yet, they've taken the ball away over and over and over, and they still can't score 20 points a week. So I think if you're Spagnuolo, you stop the run, you get them in 2nd and 3rd and long, and then you just tee off, because I think the corners can handle them man on man.
Matt Verderame is our guest, our NFL insider here on 580 Sports Talk, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Again, we try to remove the turnovers as best we can from the discussion because it is an inordinate number of turnovers that the Jaguars have forced. But we were talking earlier last week about the Jaguars. They don't really have like the game record type of defensive players that you've got to build a game plan around. There's not a Jalen Carter in the middle. There's not a Kyle Hamilton at safety. Their best edge rusher is Josh Hines-Allen. He's off to a slow start, and their second best rusher might not go tonight because he just had wrist surgery, and Tramon Walker. What do you think that the Chiefs can exploit most readily about this Jacksonville defense and some of the aggressiveness that they've shown in creating those 13 turnovers in the first 4 games?
Look, I think for the Chiefs, this is the kind of game, especially if Walker doesn't play, and even if he does play, he's going to have a club on his hand. I mean, he's pretty limited. I think this is a game where if you can block Jacksonville, who, by the way, is not heavy on blitzes. They do not blitz very much at all. They're in the bottom quarter of the league. I think this is one of these games is going to find some pretty advantageous matchups down the field. I mean, Jacksonville, Tyson Campbell's a good corner. Jordan Lewis is a veteran in the slot. He's not great, but he's solid. He's good. You can go after the other corner. You can go after the safeties. You know, they're not – look, Devin Lloyd, to his credit, has had a very good start to the year. He's also the kind of guy, though, you don't necessarily need to shy away from when he's in coverage. Like I wonder in this game with the Chiefs if they're willing to try to take some shots down the field with those safeties. You know, Jacksonville, if you get them in all, zone coverage, they play a lot of zone. Do you just try to say, look, if you don't have Walker, we're going to double Allen, and who else is getting home? Who's doing it? I think that's a problem for Jacksonville in this game tonight. I wonder if the Chiefs, we've seen them be much more aggressive downfield this year, whether it's Thornton, Vince Worthy. I think as long as they hold up in a way I'd expect them to in this game up front, I think we're going to see some of those deep shots.
Matt, as we pivot to the rest of what we've already seen now in week 5 of the NFL, this is a bit of a two-part question, so it may have two different answers. Did we see the coming out party nationally for Drake Maye last night? And did we also see the coming out party for Mike Vrabel's New England Patriots as a whole last night in their win over Buffalo?
For Maye, certainly. Look, I've been a big fan of him since he's come out. He's been excellent. He was really good last year. They just had no talent around him. This year, they're still not ultra talented, but they're better. And Stephon Diggs lit his old team up like a Christmas tree last night. So, yes, I think Maye asserted himself as a guy who's on the come up, a guy who you need to watch and respect in the AFC. The Pats, I think they showed that they're not a pushover anymore. Look, that game, Buffalo turned it over 3 times and took 10 penalties. Like, most teams are going to lose when they do that, and Buffalo still almost won the game. I don't think you look at New England now and go, wow, they're going to win 11 games. I don't think that's the case. But I will say this for New England. Like, if they don't just hand Pittsburgh the game a couple weeks ago with 5 fumbles, they're 4-1 right now. Like, and their schedule's a joke. I mean, go look at who they play the rest of the year. They got the Jets a couple times, the Dolphins at home. I mean, not exactly a who's who. They've got to play Cleveland. They get Cincinnati with Jake Browning. I don't know what you're getting with Baltimore. Who knows? But look, I think New England will be a wild card team before the year started. I still think they're going to be. I don't think there's all of a sudden some massive threat to win the AFC or anything. But yeah, I think they can win 10 games, and they're feisty. They're a tough out.
We have no more unbeatens in the NFL because of that Buffalo loss and because of Philadelphia's loss to Denver. They led 17-3 in the fourth quarter, and they lose that game at home 21-17. Did that game, the way it unfolded, did that say more about Sean Payton's Broncos, or did that say more about the Eagles maybe not getting away with what they've gotten away with the first 4 weeks?
I think it's both, which is often the case, right? I mean, Denver, you give them a lot of credit. They hung in there. They scored 18 unanswered points. They made the plays they had to make to win the game. Do I think Denver all of a sudden now is, I've seen people this morning, they're a Super Bowl contender. No, I don't think they're that, because I don't believe in their offense outside of the fourth quarter. They did absolutely nothing. And Nix is a very bizarre guy to watch. He has games within games where, like, he is atrocious for 2 quarters. And then he gets hot and he plays really well for a stretch of time. He's very odd. But look, they're great defensively. And Nick Bonito right now would probably be the defensive player of the year if I had to pick. So, I mean, it's that. But Philly, look, I think Philadelphia and Buffalo are very similar in some ways this year. There's talent. Obviously, Buffalo's got the quarterback, and the Eagles have all this experience, championship pedigree, and everything else. The Eagles' roster is better than Buffalo's. But last night and yesterday afternoon, we saw 2 teams that were previously undefeated that lost games because of stuff that's been festering for a while. The Bills can't play any defense against anybody that can function offensively, and we saw that at times, especially second half of last night. Philadelphia has not run the ball. They have got nothing in their passing game. They can't do anything. Defensively, it's really been a feast on big plays, and if they don't get big plays, they don't stop you down to down. And that reared its head yesterday. So look, I still think Philadelphia and Buffalo, I think will be fine. They'll be in the playoffs. They'll be their divisional round on. But those teams have stuff to figure out. I mean, it's not just going to be a cakewalk for either one.
We're joined by Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, are the Colts the most unexpected 4-win, 1-loss team so far this year?
Yeah, they've got to be. I mean, look, the Colts, they blasted the Raiders. You know, I get people sit there and say, well, you know, they've beaten the Raiders and the Titans and the Dolphins. They've killed them. I mean, these games aren't even close. That's what a really good team does. Now, you know, the Colts, listen, is there a ceiling on them? Probably. I don't know that you'd sit there and say, oh, I firmly believe in them as a title contender, because I think the defense is fine, but that's probably about what it is. And I think offensively, listen, Daniel Jones, to his credit, has played well, but I don't think Daniel Jones is going into Buffalo or Kansas City in a playoff game going 350 and 4 touchdowns. I just don't think it's happening. But they are playing very well. The Texans are 2 back of them, which is not, you know, the end of the world, but they're still figuring out their offense, although they got right in Baltimore. And then Jacksonville, like, you know, we'll see tonight. Maybe Jacksonville can tie them up 4-1. Maybe they lose. But if you had to, you know, pin me down right now and say, who do you think's going to win the division? The Colts are deserving of that mantle. They have played the best. I think Steichen's a good coach. They've got weapons. You know, Tyler Warren is a stud, and they've done everything they've needed to do through 5 weeks.
Pivoting to an NFC 4-1 team, how long can the Lions hold up with it's another year, another rash of defensive injuries? Dan Campbell just came to the podium earlier today and said that cornerback Teron Arnold going to be out for a long time with a shoulder injury, already down DJ Reed. How long can the Lions keep it up?
This feels a lot like last year for the Lions, where the offense is a point-a-minute unit, but this defense is just taking on a lot of water. Now Arnold's out for maybe the year, if not for a long time. You mentioned Reed is out. They lost guys in the summer. Aleem McNeil will be back, but he's still coming back off the ACL from last, I believe, December. So, look, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. And you know, the Lions, give them credit. They've been winning games. You know, they beat Baltimore. They pounded the Bears. They pounded the Bengals. Well, I feel like the Bengals, that might be a weekly theme at this point. You know, look, the Lions are really good, but you do wonder, like, when they play a team that can slow them down, then what? Because if you can block Hutchinson, you're going to score on Detroit. I mean, Detroit just simply love the safeties and Joseph and Branch. Hutchinson's awesome, but there's a lot of space in that defense beyond those guys.
Wrapping up with Matt Verderame, our NFL insider from SportsIllustratedSI.com here, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Matt, how is it that the hardest thing to do in the National Football League is hold the ball as you cross the goal line? Because 2 weeks in a row, we've seen teams lose out on touchdowns and then lose games in part because guys can't figure out that you have to have the ball as you cross the goal line for the touchdown to count. Happened to A.D. Mitchell and the Colts 2 weeks ago. Happened to Amari DeMercado and the Cardinals yesterday. How does this keep happening?
I got to tell you, if I was the Cardinals, I would have cut DeMercado. That is so bad. Like, the Mitchell thing's ridiculous. And by the way, he ended up, I believe, getting less snaps this week. But I mean, that's just unconscious. The Cardinals yesterday, if it came out that, like, they all took the Titans money line in that game, you'd believe it, right? You'd be like, oh yeah, okay, now that makes sense. And that is one of the worst losses. They had a pick. For anyone who didn't see it, they had an interception down at about their own 5 or 6 yard line that they then fumbled and kicked into the end zone, and Tennessee recovered it. I mean, then they had a touchdown that they just, they fumbled away at the 1-inch line voluntarily. They had the ball. They needed to get 1 first down. They basically just ran 3 dives into the line and punted and let the Titans come right down. Look, the Cardinals are awful. The Cardinals are so unbelievably lucky they played the Saints and the Panthers to start the season, and they almost lost those games. This is not great for Jonathan Gannon. But yes, that there are certain things you can live with as a coach. That is probably at the bottom of the list. That is about one of the
Jacob covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also has his subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show, with lots of great insider and Chiefs info, and appears on that football show on the KC Sports Network. You can catch him every Monday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. Enjoy Monday Night Football tonight. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk with the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend. A quick good, bad, ugly from the sports weekend that was. My good was it was a sports weekend. We had NASCAR playoffs. You had MLB playoffs. You had NFL action on Sunday. You had some great college football on Saturday. It's always the weekends you never expect to give you the great games with the matchups on paper that give you some really great games. Awesome sports weekend. Awesome time to be in front of a TV.
Good for me. Deebo Samuel, anytime touchdown hit late. Commanders win big. KU won. K-State, that's my bad. K-State.
My bad for the weekend was the quality of broadcast that Kansas and Kansas State fans were subject to. Pete Souza and Leger Douzable on the ESPN Plus broadcast of Baylor, Kansas State. Really bad. I don't know how Pete Souza keeps getting work. He's not a good play-by-play guy. I don't understand it. And then Lowell Galindo openly rooting for UCF backup quarterback Cam Fancher, like he was going to legally adopt him after the game in the KU UCF game was something else. Like that was Lowell Galindo is also not very good. I would prefer to not watch neither of those guys call any more KU or K-State games. My ugly, Penn State. You can't lose that game, man. You can't lose to a team that hadn't led anybody all year, not beaten anybody, led. UCLA had not had a lead against anybody, and y'all made Nico Iamaleava look like Vince Young. They were comparing him to Vince Young on the broadcast, and it made sense because that's how he looked against you. Penn State, oh my goodness. We got a lot more to say about that coming up later on the show. You got ugly quick?
Yeah, allergy season has begun in the household. Not great.
Yeah, special mention, by the way, on the ugly to Mark Sanchez. That's obviously an ugly story, but that is a man who needs help. And I don't have, clearly, something's going on there that he needs some help with. And hopefully he can heal up and get the help he needs. We've got college football to talk about in the next hour. K-State, it's one of those years. We'll talk about it next hour on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Red Monday. Chiefs and Jaguars pregame coverage starts in just under 2 hours, 6 o'clock sharp. We're taking you there on 580 Sports Talk today. Here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis here with you. Brendan Dworzinski off today. Again, 6 o'clock pregame coverage of the Chiefs and Jags winding down week number 5 on Monday Night Football. Standalone Monday Night Football game tonight. What a concept. Just one game on a Monday night.
Not for long, though.
Yeah, they got doubleheader, what, next week?
And the week after.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have week 5 and 6, are we?
I would just rather have more games on Sundays. I don't.
Me too. Can we have, I hate this window where I can't watch 2 games at one time. Like, why can't I have 2 games up at 1 o'clock, or I guess at noon here, and at 3:30? Like, why can't there be 2 games on each broadcast entity? Come on.
Well, that's the whole. The one network gets an exclusive window to do their game of the week, and so that's why you don't get double headers from both of the major networks typically until late in the season.
I know.
And you get the national game unless your team plays locally. So like, you probably didn't get, like, if you were in. Let's say you were in Seattle yesterday, you probably got a doubleheader in the afternoon, but you didn't get a CBS game in the morning because CBS had Buccaneers Seahawks. So you got that game, and then you got America's Game of the Week on Fox, which was their late game, and then you didn't get a Fox game in the morning probably, or a CBS game in the morning. One network a week gets the doubleheader. Yeah.
Somebody got dumped out. Some area got dumped out of a game and brought on to America's Game of the Week in the third quarter yesterday. I don't know what it was, but it was like, we welcome our new audience. And I'm like, it is the third quarter still with like 5 minutes left.
Yeah, that must have been Detroit, Cincinnati, because that was the only other Fox game in the late window. So yeah, that wasn't a very good game. I don't blame people for saying, hey, you know what? Maybe in like Atlanta, maybe they might rather watch Commanders Chargers, or Tampa Bay, maybe they might rather watch Commanders Chargers right now. So anyway, that's how the game goes. Anyway, just one Monday nighter tonight. Chiefs and the Jags. Gave you our predictions in hour number 1. We'll talk some more NFL as we go along a little bit later on in the program today. Lots of college football we want to get to from the weekend, including K-State and KU. Plus, What is Wrong with You? New week of What is Wrong with You. Our first full week of October on What is Wrong with You coming up. And to answer the question of Andrew in the live YouTube chat, Mark Sanchez will not be appearing on What is Wrong with You today. He did some real damage to that guy. Like, I don't even really. I'm glad for that guy's sake that they updated those charges and they were not misdemeanors. Like, I was listening to I listened to Bomani Jones's podcast. He does one 3 days a week. He says it's never good when you have an episode, or you wind up in some kind of a story and all the details make you think, were you on dust? Like, were you on PCP? Like, the details of it are all bad for Mark Sanchez, and they are indicative of somebody who, this is not just somebody who like had 8 brandy and cokes, had a bad night. No, there's something else going on there. And so no, that will not be on What is Wrong with You today. We'll have 2 other stories that have not been front page sports news. Maybe what is wrong is you should go to Adam Schefter for saying, oh yeah, my man got poked up and it was a robbery. No. Why did you put that out there, Adam Schefter? What kind of information did you have? What kind of narrative did you want to push, Adam Schefter? That was crazy. Anyway,
I feel bad for all the people at Fox, like Carissa Thompson.
Yeah, man.
They had to read this blanket statement when they all well and know that, hey, or about to be former colleague, not the great guy.
Yeah, man. And over on ESPN, they relished it. They were like, Mark Sanchez of Fox, like they were making a real meal out of it. But anyway, so no, we'll have 2 stories maybe you haven't heard yet that are on What is Wrong with You later on today. We got sports headlines still to come, national college football, some NFL stuff. Lots of great stuff coming in these final 2 hours of 580 Sports Talk. Want to hear from you on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the number, 785-272-9429. And as we mentioned, the live chat is up on our YouTube stream. If you're watching the program live on YouTube, The name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk.
Shout out to our 2 more new Spotify followers.
Hey, look at that. Yeah, you've missed any part of the show, catch our hour-by-hour breakdowns over on Spotify. Search for 580 Sports Talk on Spotify. Follow us, rate us, and review us if you do follow us over there, too, because that makes us look good and feel good. And
I love graphs, and it's like this. It's like, and it's like stayed up.
Yeah.
It's for the last 2 weeks.
That's good. That's good. We like to hear that. We like to see the folks checking us out on Spotify. You miss any part of the show, we got the hour-by-hour breakdowns there. Or if you just want to check them out the old-fashioned way, they're up at our website, 580wibw.com. Also at 580wibw.com, it's our fall cash contest. You go to the page right now. There's a link top left of the page, a picture of somebody who appears to be very excited about fall weather. They got headphones on. Maybe she's listening to our show. I think that's
Spotify.
that's what she is listening to in her headphones there, it looks like. And the link says $2,000 every weekday for 10 lucky winners. That's exactly what it sounds like. We're giving away $2,000 a day every weekday from today through next Friday. And all you have to do to enter to win is go to 580wibw.com, click on that link, and enter the hourly keyword. There's a new keyword every hour. This hour's keyword, what we hope you win, prize. The prize. We want you to win the prize, which is $2,000. So the keyword is prize. 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 Prize is our keyword for the hour. Only good until 5 o'clock. So hustle on over to 580wibw.com. Enter that keyword and get yourself registered for a chance to win $2,000 today. We're giving away $2,000 every day, every weekday, I should say, for 2 weeks on 580wibw.com. So go get registered. Hope you win. Kansas State did not win on Saturday.
No.
That's not a great segue, but you do what you can. It's a Monday. It's a Monday for everybody. Yeah. Kansas State's Annus Horribilis continues. You took Latin, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was mere 10 years ago.
You still know what I'm saying when I say Annus Horribilis, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Yes.
It is an Annus Horribilis for Kansas State, and it continued in Waco on Saturday. Baylor 35, K-State 34. Kansas State won the turnover battle. They were great on third down. They had a 14-point lead with the ball in the fourth quarter, and they lost that game anyway. And again, when you lose a game by 1 point, you can point to probably every snap of the game and say, hey, if this had gone a little different, if this had been a little better. And it's both things in your control and out of your control. Things out of your control, Dylan Edwards' ankle. He's clearly not 100%. We've seen him at ramming speed for one game this year. It might be the only game we get, and that sucks. And there's nothing that you can really do about that if Dylan Edwards isn't 100%. And Joe Jackson played well. It was Joe Jackson's best game.
It was his birthday, too.
Of the season. Yeah, he played really well, and that was a positive, but you saw how much better this thing can look if it's Dylan Edwards. And we didn't get to see fully actualized, fully weaponized Kansas State offense with Dylan Edwards. You can't control that. You can't control that you lose a touchdown because the rule says you have to stop play if somebody's helmet comes off. It's a hard and fast rule. So Jace Brown is about to score a touchdown as he breaks a tackle on that deep ball, but his helmet pops off. So you got to blow the play dead. And instead of Kansas State having taken the lead right then and there, they had to blow the play dead, and then the drive stalls, and they only get a field goal out of the drive. You can't control that is the rule. You can't control sometimes Michael Trigg is going to make a play. That was the best player on the field on either side of the ball on Saturday. He made two preposterous catches on the drive that got Baylor within 6. Catches where the coverage could not have been any better, and he made unbelievable plays. And sometimes you get beat, another team makes a great play. There were things that were out of Kansas State's control, certainly, but things that were in their control. Time management, game management, horrendous in the final minutes. And Chris Kleiman always says, I'll take the bullets. I'll take the blame. He's always out front. And obviously he's got a big part of the blame here. But that was Matt Wells' play calling on 2nd down and goal and 3rd down and goal in what was, at the time, a 1-point game. And if Kansas State scores a touchdown there Or if they don't, but they run it into the line twice and force Baylor to call their timeouts, maybe the end game unfolds a little bit differently. Instead, 2 passes, both incomplete. They brought out the Blake Barnett package for third down. That was asinine. It had no chance of working. And K-State settles for the field goal and the 2-point lead, which Baylor then overcame on their next drive.
Can I insert something here real quick?
Go for it.
They tried that earlier in the game. It didn't work. Then they ran another play with him, and it didn't work on the same, consecutively. I don't understand this Blake Barnett package.
Like,
you have a starting quarterback for a reason.
Yeah, either let Avery make the play or snap it to Blake Barnett if he's going to be out there to be the power guy and run it into the line and make Baylor have to manage their timeouts. You control the game and you control the clock. And you can do whatever you want with it in that stage. And I'm not mad that they threw it once. I'm mad they threw it twice and didn't score. I'm not mad if you throw it and you score. And what it sounds like, Kleiman broke it down in his press conference today. It sounded like whoever was in there at left tackle, I think it was Devin Bass, they had a blitz, and Bass shoved the blitzer, didn't knock him off course enough, and he got to Avery, and it didn't give Avery a chance to reset and look to his left and find Garrett Oakley. And you can go watch the replay of this. He is butt naked open in the end zone. He is so open in the end zone. It is the easiest touchdown throw that you or me or Avery Johnson would ever have had. All Avery needed was one more second to set his feet, look back to the left, and he didn't get it. He didn't get it. They had the blitz ID'd, and somebody screwed up. And look, man, that's college football, right? 18 to 22-year-olds. Well, 18 to 24, 25-year-olds anymore. But you get the idea. Sometimes these guys screw up, and that cost them there. But at that point, man, you bring out Barnett, just run it on third down. Make them call a timeout. Call a run play. You can't run it for 3 yards. You're Kansas State. You can't run the ball for 3 yards. I don't know. Anyway, they score a touchdown there. It's very different. If they make Baylor burn their timeouts, it's very different. Neither of those things happen. Baylor was able to drive down with the assistance of, it should be noted, a wonky pass interference call that probably should not have been called. What do you expect? It's a Kevin Marr crew. There's a reason. That's the only official whose name you know in the Big 12 because he's that bad at his job, and his crew is always bad. And it was bad again on Saturday, and you want to point that out? That is absolutely a fair thing to point out, that pass interference should not have happened, and maybe that changes the shape of how the game ended. But also, Kansas State moves the ball into reasonable enough field goal range. I mean, a 56-yard obviously didn't make it, so it's not a gimme. But you at least have a chance to kick a field goal and try to win the game from there. 5 seconds left with a timeout in your hip pocket. K-State scrambles to the line, spikes the ball. Cost them a second. They got to the line with like 6 seconds, spiked the ball, down to 5 seconds. You keep your timeout in your hip pocket, and then you call your timeout? Excuse me? Run another play. What was that? That was mind-boggling. Run a quick out or a stick route to the middle of the field. Get it, center the ball, call your timeout, give your kicker a better angle, give him the angle he wants. Do something with the time and the timeout. How do you not? I thought that was the whole point of spiking the ball, was you save your timeout so you can do one more thing before you send the field goal unit out. Or at the bare minimum, it gives you a chance, if something goes wrong with the snap, then have your holder fall on the ball, call the quick timeout, and then you have a chance to throw a Hail Mary because it was a first down play. Instead, you just call the timeout, make sure you got your ducks in a row. So bad. Like, that's the stuff you can control. And that's the first time I've been really critical of Chris Kleiman this year because I thought his time management was nonsense. Matt Wells, goodness knows, I've been critical of Matt Wells. You could almost sponsor the segment on Monday mornings, Monday afternoons on 580 Sports Talk. Dan is critical of Matt Wells and the play calling because it's every week at this point. But Chris Kleiman screwed up the time management. He and Matt Wells screwed up the time and the game management 6 ways to Sunday, and maybe you get a different outcome if that doesn't happen. Maybe you get a different outcome if Avery Johnson doesn't think throwing the ball away is something you can do over the middle of the field. I don't understand Avery throwing that pick six. He said after the game it was his fault, which, yes. He said he's throwing the ball over the middle because the initial read got blown up. There was a blitz. He throws it off his back foot. He's trying to find Jerron Tibbs over the middle. But he said after the game, that's not a route where Tibbs is expecting the ball, so he never looked back for the ball. Well, if you know he's not expecting the ball, throw it into the Brazos and live to survive another down, man. Throw it into the frickin' river. Don't throw it over the middle of the field. It's a suicide ball. And it costs, again, that's the worst possible outcome. And that is what keeps happening. What we keep coming back to for Kansas State is that they are hurting themselves, certainly, in multiple ways. But also, they are on the receiving end of the worst possible outcome that can happen for a play in some really, really harmful scenarios. And that was one of them. That was the worst possible thing. 8 times out of 10, that hits the kid's hip and just falls to the turf, right? A kid made a great catch and then had the opportunity to return it all the way up the field because, of course, nobody thought he was actually going to catch the ball. But that is what can happen when you are in the middle of one of those years. When you are, as a texter from 785 puts it, drinking the dog water. That is what can happen. And that is what can happen in a league where you are not a cut above your competition talent-wise. And that is not so much a knock on K-State as it is an acknowledgement that everybody in the Big 12 is pretty closely together. I mean, it is, right now it looks like Texas Tech's probably streets ahead of the rest of the league. Well, we'll find out. But right now they look like a pretty clear-cut number one team to beat in the league. At the bottom, you know, there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's Oklahoma State and West Virginia. And then from me to the doorway behind me on the video, there are 13 other teams in that space. It is what it feels like. That there are 13 other teams in this league. Maybe that's generous to the likes of Houston and Colorado, but like Colorado played TCU tough on the road. If not for 4 turnovers, maybe they win that game. Houston has a good win on their schedule. A couple of good wins. They got Wegman hurt. That was obviously a problem for them against Texas Tech. But there's such a small gap, talent-wise, between the teams that you can beat anybody or you can lose to anybody in this league. K-State beats themselves a bit too often for my or anybody else's liking. But also, this can happen in a season, is that you get the wrong end of the stick in close game after close game. Kansas State has a positive point differential this season. They're 2-4. They are +1. They have 1 more point than their opponents in 6 games. They got a positive point differential. And they're 2-4. And 3 of their 4 losses. The Arizona game was not winnable. The Arizona game was the only time this year where I think Kansas State has gotten comprehensively outplayed. And you can point to the short week and the long travel following a game against a service academy where their defense was on the field for, I think it was 170 plays. And you can point to that and say that was a big part of the reason why that ended up being what it was at Arizona, who has been proven to not be particularly awesome. And that would be a fair thing to point out. But every other loss was very winnable for Kansas State. You can convincingly argue that this is a 4-2 team, maybe even a 5-1 team in a 2-4 team's clothing. You can even more convincingly argue that nobody cares because you are your record, because the result is the only thing that matters at the end of the day. Kansas State's doing a lot of things well. They are better offensively the last 2 weeks. Avery Johnson outplayed Sawyer Robertson, who we all thought was the best quarterback in the conference coming into the week. They won the turnover battle. Their third down issues were much improved. 20-20, they were, if not clearly the better team, you could argue the better team. None of it mattered. They lost 35-34, and now they got to be just about perfect, go to a bowl.
My thought on here is while you want to blame who was on the field for most of the game, not a great weekend for special teams for K-State. Simon McClannon, the week after he gets named the Ray Guy punter of the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does not have a great week punting.
He did not. Couple of really bad punts.
Which set up Baylor for good field position.
Also, the big kick return after the go-ahead field goal in the final 2 minutes. Big kick return for Baylor helped them set up with good field position.
And obviously that kick that was blocked.
And the field goal getting blocked, I don't necessarily, that was just, didn't get high enough off the ground. That wasn't a protection breakdown.
I was more talking about McClain.
Right. But end of the day, you can shrink the game to just that, right? Like 2 college kickers had 50-yard field goals. One got his high enough off the ground, the other didn't. And you could do that 10 times, and it could be an exact opposite result the next time you do it, or all 9 times that you do it after that. But the result is the result. And that's where we're at with Kansas State, that none of this stuff, about, oh, yeah, they look better since the bye. Oh, yeah, the offense is moving. Oh, yeah, Avery was really good on Saturday. He was, other than the interception. I thought that was about as good as he's ever been, to be completely frank. Defense has played better. Defense creating splash plays and winning the turnover battle. None of it matters. You got to win the football games. Nobody's concerned about the labor pains. You got to see a baby. And Kansas State is not delivering. And they are in a spot. They're 2-4. Their hardest games left, at least on paper. Their hardest games left. And none of them are easy except the trip to Oklahoma State. And even that's not easy because it's Stillwater, and that's been a horror show for Kleiman and the Wildcats in recent years. But their hardest game on paper is Texas Tech. That's at home. Kansas is a hard game on paper. They've won that game 16 straight times. TCU's a hard game this Saturday. That's at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. There's not anybody I don't think Kansas State can beat. Maybe not Tech. Tech might be that good. Tech might be that team this year in the Big 12 where they're ahead of everybody else. But there's not another game on the schedule that it would shock me if Kansas State, getting what they've gotten offensively, getting what they've gotten from Avery Johnson, given the improvements on defense, not a game on that list I don't think they can win. But also not a game on that list I don't think they can lose. And when it gets to be like that, a lot of it comes down to, are you executing? Are you making good in-game game management decisions? Do you have the belief that you can go win those games? And I think those are all really big question marks right now for this Kansas State team in the middle of a lost year. Let's get to some comments first from the 316 on the text line. The lack of usage of Dylan Edwards and Kleiman's answer today and him not knowing how available he'll be because he was limited this week was pretty crazy. Yeah, that there's a lot of uncertainty right now, it seems like, around Dylan Edwards. And I don't want to speak out of school or talk about something that I'm not privy to. For all I know, it's just a tricky injury that he's trying to get through. They weren't really, they've never been really clear on the nature of the injury. And that's kind of not just K-State, every college team.
That's college football.
Yeah, that's college football where you don't have to really be extremely clear on the nature of an injury a guy's dealing with. But yeah, you saw the Saturday before that a healthy Dylan Edwards changes a lot for that offense, and to not have him was really damaging. It was great that Joe Jackson played well. The offensive line seems to be improving. They've gotten some new faces out there that have played well. I mentioned Bass blew a protection, which is too bad because I thought he's been good the last couple of weeks. Gus Hawkins, Kansas kid, playing well at right tackle recently too. But yeah, the question mark hanging over Dylan Edwards is starting to feel a little bit like a cloud that just won't go away. That is dogging this program. Some other comments from the YouTube. The Paul talking about that weirdo play on 3rd and goal before the field goal that took the man. Again, like last week, putting Blake Barnett in for a little bit of an added power running element. And earlier in the Baylor game, when he came in and plowed ahead on, I think it was a 4th down that they converted out near midfield. Like that stuff works. But don't line up 2 quarterbacks and then run, like, unless you're really good at it. And KU had to prove, when they would run the 2 quarterback stuff with Daniels and Bean, they had to prove that stuff worked before you felt comfortable with them running it. The 2 quarterbacks and we're going to throw it, that hasn't worked. It has not worked even a little bit for Kansas State. And I don't know why you roll a guy out. You already got a short field to deal with, and then you roll a guy out to one side of the field. You're shrinking the field even more by design doing that. It was a nonsensical play call. Matt Wells has had some head scratchers, but that was maybe the biggest one of them all. MPM shouts out Michael Trigg. Yeah, he was the best player on the field. No doubt about it. That one-handed catch he made along the sideline was stupid.
I mean, he was all over the place catching balls.
He was. And look, he had the touchdown that got called back, which I didn't think that was going to get called back. But, like, Wesley Fair defended that as well as you possibly can. Fair has not been good on balance, I don't think, for Kansas State, but I thought he was better yesterday. There were some plays where they had really good coverage on Michael Trigg, and Trigg's big boyed him. Made the play because he's bigger and stronger
8
and
for
better.
155, 19.4 catch.
Yeah, he was awesome. I think he was the difference for the Baylor offense, because Kansas State handled Baylor's other guys. Like, they weren't overwhelmed by Baylor's running game. Again, like I said, I think Avery Johnson outplayed Sawyer Robertson. It was a very evenly matched football game. And a lot of things broke against Kansas State that were not their fault, but Kansas State shot themselves in the foot in the final 2 minutes with the game management. And you can pick whichever, choose your own adventure. Whatever you want to decide was more costly to the Kansas State cause, but the end result remains the same. Man, you can point to one reason or another. There's 1,000 reasons you lose, but any one of them, it all leads you back to the same place, which is where this team is, mired in the muck, and even less hope now of getting out of it. And now you have to wonder, with all but 0% chance now of winning the league, now you start to wonder how invested guys are going to be. Because I thought the idea of, they're gonna all check out after the bye week. Well, no, they were only 0-1 in the Big 12. Yeah. So the chance to go and put up a really good season against Big 12 competition and maybe go play in Arlington. And now that chance has dropped to just about nil. They have to be perfect the rest of the way. So now you do start to wonder, like, what is the level of investment? How much are these guys going to give? For the record, I still think the culture is good enough. I still think that the coach will demand too much of his players. You're not going to see that kind of drop off in energy and effort. I don't see that coming from Kansas State. But it is a question. It is a question, because everything you thought you had to play for is you're about down to pride. So we'll see how much that matters. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with what is wrong with you. We'll talk about the KU victory. That'll be a little sunnier to discuss when we get to that as well. Your text, 785-272-9429. Your YouTube thoughts as well on the YouTube live chat. This is 580 Sports Talk. is What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. Two brand new stories to start off a brand new week of competition on the program. I will go first with my story. We are going to Kent, Washington, where a gentleman stole 2 pressure washers from a church. The 58-year-old Kent man then took those pressure washers to the Home Depot and tried to sell them to somebody in the parking lot. Parishioners who had spotted the man commit the theft followed him there and spotted him. He dropped the power washers and fled on foot. They followed him, the parishioners, and when he climbed onto the roof, they kept visual below to keep him from fleeing until police arrived. Puget Sound Fire brought in a ladder truck. Officers climbed up onto the roof. He was thoroughly surrounded by police and the less than happy parishioners below, so he gave up without further incident. I was disappointed that these were pressure washers and not power washers, because then I could have called the story "The Power Washer of Christ Compels You," but alas, they were pressure washers instead. Yeah, he stole from a church, and turns out you steal from somebody's church, the parishioners aren't going to like that too much. They chased that man up on the roof of the Home Depot.
Shout out to them, though.
Yeah, you can run, you can climb, but you cannot hide. Your story, Spencer.
Yeah, we're going to Missouri State University. Minutes after vandalizing 17 cars in the parking lot there at Missouri State University, a 19-year-old sophomore had a lengthy chat GPT conversation during which he confessed to the crime, asked about the possibility of getting caught, and wondered, quote, "Is there any way they could know it was me?" according to a police probable cause statement. Ryan Schaefer was arrested at the end of September and charged with felony property damage for a rampage early last Sunday at Missouri State University parking lot. Investigators alleged that Schaefer shattered car windows, ripped off side mirrors, dented hoods, and broke windshield wipers during the 3 a.m. spree. When confronted with surveillance footage and other evidence, Schaefer said that he could see the resemblance between the suspect and himself.
Yeah, that guy kind of looked like me.
And at that point, Schaefer reportedly consented to a search of his iPhone. A subsequent review of the device revealed location data, placing him at or near the scene of the crime, as well as troubling dialogue exchange the defendant seems to have had with an artificial intelligence software installed on his phone. Prosecutors reported
there's lots of profanity in the chat GPT conversation and a lot of typos. And it's hard to do the typos justice if you aren't reading them. They're not as funny. I could give you this one. Kill, I go to jail. That's QILLL. I go to jail. Yeah, man. It sounded like he really wanted to do damage to the cars. It seemed like he really liked it. I think we should be glad that all he did was damage some cars.
Yeah, he's locked up on a $7,500 bond. He'll be barred from the premises where the primary item for sale is alcoholic beverages.
So he can't go to bars.
Yeah, he can't go to bars, and he's required to comply with random drug tests for testing for alcohol and drugs.
I would hope so.
He also have GPS monitoring.
He needs some GPT monitoring, apparently. Yeah, man. Turn into the fake intelligence, the AI, to try and.
Can I get caught for committing what I just did?
Get you out of a jam. Hey, am I going to get in trouble for this? Yeah, you are, bud. I think so.
Just the way that some of this reads, like he returned to his apartment and then began to wind down a bit, and then continued.
Yeah. Hey, grabbed his phone and said, "I need to consult my only friend in the world, this fake chatbot. Because if I had any real friends, I wouldn't be running around doing this nonsense on a Friday night." All right, who we got? We got the pressure washer thief, or we got the chat GPT confession?
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards this chat GPT confession because none of this stuff is spelled right.
Yeah, the typos do make it pretty funny. It's also pretty clear indicator of the state of mind. My lean is the guy who got chased on the roof of Home Depot by angry parishioners.
This was a tough one,
They
though.
had to get the fire department to get this man down. What do you think? He was going to stand there like, they're a forgiving sort. They were in a church. They're the forgiving types. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with our pressure washer thief. The holy water heist, as Paul called it. We'll come up with a good title for it. That's our winner for Monday on What Is Wrong With You. When we come back, KU starts slow, wins big in Orlando. We'll talk about it next. With a nudge from Vance in the YouTube comments, I think we have our name for our Monday winner on What Is Wrong With You. The Thief and the PO'd Parishioners. We're going to go with that. KU 27, UCF 20 on Saturday night. Look, I don't believe, like I said earlier, and this is one of my favorite sayings, there are 1,000 reasons you fail, but there are no excuses. So I'm not interested in this as an excuse, but I do think you can look at some games across the country, and you can really look at the last couple of years for evidence of this. As more and more travel is being asked of major college football teams on a week-in, week-out basis, you start doing things like sending Duke to play Cal or Penn State to play UCLA or Kansas to play UCF or Washington to play Maryland or West Virginia to play Arizona. The more you get to this really onerous travel in college football, it does have an impact on games. It does. It impacts games. Kansas started extremely slowly in Orlando on Saturday, and they fell behind 14-zip, and it looked like they had just gotten off the plane. They did not look up to snuff early in that football game. Just like Penn State didn't look up to it early at UCLA. Just like Washington fell in a 20-0 ditch against Maryland. Just like Duke did not start particularly well against Cal. Now, if you've got the better team over the course of 60 minutes as you play your way into the game, sometimes you're going to claw your way back and you're going to win the game, like Washington did at Maryland, like Duke did at Cal. So it's not anything you can't overcome, but it absolutely impacts the game that you watch. When there is that kind of travel disparity, when there is that kind of travel being asked of these college football teams. And it's a relatively new phenomenon, right? Like, I mean, West Virginia's been in the Big 12 for long enough now, but Arizona's kind of new, right? All these old Pac-12 teams now playing in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or the ACC.
Well, when you look at West Virginia, they haven't had to travel to Arizona State that far before. They've only had to travel to Texas and Kansas.
Right. So, like, ultimately, over 60 minutes in those scenarios, things can even out. And I think that's part of the story for Kansas at UCF was that they just found their legs and proved their superiority as the game wore on. The other two elements that tell the story of Kansas's win, number one, they found some consistency in the running game, not the big play explosiveness. We've seen some of that from LaShawn Williams, but we saw some of the down over down success rate, drive sustaining type of running plays that Kansas had been kind of short on the first handful of weeks of the season. We started to see more of that over the course of the second half of the game. The second thing we saw in the second half of the game, we did not see in the first game, was a human tornado wearing number 1 in a Kansas jersey. Bangally Kamara is awesome.
Yeah,
he is awesome. And man alive, did he make a difference. That Kansas defense had their hands full in the first half, and in the second half, UCF couldn't do a thing. Not one thing, other than some off-schedule tackle breaking Cam Fancher scrambles. They did not have anything that was consistently working. They could not generate anything on first down because all of a sudden UCF had to deal with the Tasmanian Devil in the middle of that defense. And it changed the entire equation of that football game. And so I am usually, again, football, some will call it the ultimate team sport. But I'm usually loath to point to one guy and say, yeah, that guy just changes everything, generally speaking. Bangally Kamara changes a whole heck of a lot for the Kansas Jayhawks in the middle of that defense. I got a text from the 913 says that guy's going to play on Sundays. He's going to the NFL. I would agree. That is an NFL caliber linebacker. And who was the last one of those you saw in a Kansas uniform? Like, I know Joe Deneen, got to a camp, might have suited up for some games, but when was the last time there was an NFL caliber guy in the middle of that defense, calling the shots, getting downhill like that, and making plays? He was super impressive, and UCF had no offensive answers in the second half of that football game. And the other thing I want to say for UCF real quick, they got to quit putting Taven Jackson out there for his own health.
Yeah.
That kid obviously was playing hurt, and then he got more hurt. He got buried in the third quarter. They had, or maybe it was the fourth, and after that they had to bring Fancher in.
The moment
protect that kid from himself.
The moment Fancher came in, I knew KU was winning it. I've seen that guy's games. I've seen that tape. I know what he is capable of and what he is not capable of, and he is not capable of winning that game on Saturday night.
But again, this is the league, right? This is the league right now where you have the two teams in Oklahoma State and West Virginia that just do not have the horses and are not going to really be competitive unless another team plays exceptionally poorly against them. And then you, on the other end of the spectrum, right now it feels like Tech is streets ahead of the rest of the league. Everybody else has some problems. Iowa State finally got their injuries on defense are starting to catch up with them. They're down their best two cornerbacks, and now quarterbacks against them look like prime Peyton Manning. That's going to be a little bit of a problem that Iowa State's going to have to figure out how to solve moving forward. So I don't think that win means, Cincinnati, I mean, maybe they are the second best team in the conference. Right this second, who would you put over them other than Texas Tech? I don't think you put anybody ahead of Cincinnati right now. But do you feel like they're that far ahead of the rest of the field talent-wise? No. So that's really where you're at. Teams 2 through 14 in this league, and that includes UCF, because I do think they have some talent on their defensive line. I do think they have some really fast skill position talent that can do some things. It's pretty tightly bunched. It's not a dramatic difference in talent. So you're going to get a lot of these games that are one-score games. You have to go win them. And that's been a weakness. Not last year, it was a weakness for Kansas. That's why they didn't go to a bowl game. This year, it looks like it's going to be the reason why K-State's not going to a bowl game. Is because they aren't finishing those games. They aren't winning those close games. KU lost a close game last week, and it brought back a lot of those same questions about last year's Jayhawks. Can they finish games? Can they get a stop when they need to get a stop? And they answered resoundingly in the affirmative with that goal line stand with inside of 2 minutes to play. They got that stop. Then they had to go get another one because KU couldn't get a first down and salt the game, and they went out and they got the other stop. And I know that they got it against a quarterback, Spencer, that you do not think particularly high of, but they got the stop. They got the stop. They kept UCF from tying the game, and they got to have a happy flight all the way back to Kansas. And that is a welcome turn and a welcome sign for this team as they gear up for what's going to be their toughest challenge, because now they got Tech. Now that's what they're dealing with. They go down to Lubbock where the tortillas are flying, and they got to deal with that Texas Tech team.
As a double-digit underdog to start the week.
Is that where it opened?
Yeah, it opened as a double-digit. I don't know where it is right now, but at one point it was, I think, 19.
According to my friends, 19 would be very high and I think a little disrespectful. Let's see. Our friends at Prairie Band have it at 13 and a half. Wow. I think Kansas can keep it closer, but look, maybe not. Maybe Tech is that much further ahead of teams, again, 2 through 14 in the Big 12. We'll find out. I think Kansas can test them. I certainly think they have a veteran quarterback. They have a defense that maybe got some of their mojo back. My Monday lean would be to take Kansas in the points, but you're not supposed to. I think Tech will win that game, and you're not supposed to bet an underdog if you don't think they can win. General rule. Anyhow, plenty more to say about that game as we go along this week. Michael Swain will join us tomorrow. We'll preview it more than Jayhawk Weekly. We'll take a timeout. We will come back, and we will wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. On balance, a winning week for the crew in the 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest. Spencer with a bounce back, 4-1 on the week, 2-0 picking Commanders, lines, and props.
Barely.
3-2 for Brendan. He needed a winning week, and he got to the window with a winning week this week. I just want to know what I did to Sonny Dykes and Dan Campbell, because it felt a little personal the way that Sonny Dykes had TCU thrown into the end zone with 19 seconds left for TCU, 13-point underdogs, 13-point favorites against Colorado to win by 14. That felt personal, and maybe it was personal with regards to Colorado and having lost to CU the last time, very famously, that those two teams played. So maybe it was personal to that. But you know what, Sonny? That felt personal to me. I had Colorado plus 13. Also, Dan Campbell, man, call off the dogs. You need to score that touchdown in the fourth quarter.
That's not him, though. He doesn't call off the dogs. Even his former coach, Ben Johnson,
I know, but he
knows
couldn't
that.
have done it one time for Dan. Come on, man. I needed that. Should have been 3-2 this week. I was 1-4 instead. Not great. Not a great showing for yours truly. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We got MIAA preseason basketball polls. We got the AP Top 25. We got Royals coaching staff news. And, of course, we got a Major League Baseball playoff roundup. We'll also recap a wild college football Saturday and give you an NFL Week 5 recap and some final thoughts on tonight's Chiefs-Jags game. That's all coming up on the final hour of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of this Red Monday on 580 Sports Talk. We got one more hour to go here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. Taking you up till 6 o'clock, and then we will bring you the Chiefs Radio Network. Chiefs and Jaguars tonight. It is presently sunshiny in Jacksonville. Still a chance of some rain tonight that could alter tonight's Week 5 finale. Chiefs going for 3 wins in a row against the 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, pregame at 6 o'clock from the Chiefs Radio Network here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Kickoff scheduled for 7:15. In this final hour of the program today, we'll take a final look back at the action we haven't gotten to so far from college football's Week 6, from the NFL's Week 5. Some final thoughts, of course, on tonight's Chiefs-Jags game. All of us are picking the Chiefs to win. Brendan's got the Jags covering 3.5, has the Chiefs winning by a field goal. I think unless the Chiefs have a turnover nightmare on offense, they could win this one comfortably. I have them winning by double digits. I know you do as well, Spencer.
Yeah.
I think that's, in the end, what I see for this game. And maybe I'm not giving enough love to just how good Jacksonville's defense has been the first 4 weeks. I mean, they have 13 turnovers in 4 weeks. That's not totally luck. Like, you're creating a lot of that, but you're also playing against teams that are a little more turnover prone than the Chiefs have been. So if you're not getting the turnovers and you're not getting that kind of field position, can you drive the ball? Can you win without turning a team over? Because if the Chiefs take care of the ball, the Jags get their stops, they'll just, bring a rise out, boom it down the field, and make the Jaguars go 75 yards. Because that's not really a thing that they've shown that they can do really readily this season. They have really benefited from field position. So we'll have some more final thoughts on Chiefs-Jags coming up this hour. We want to hear from you throughout the final hour of the show. The text line, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. Also appreciate the activity in the live chat today on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. It's been lively in there today. Lots of familiar, friendly faces and names in there. It's been fun going back and forth with some of you guys throughout the show today, seeing you guys interact with each other, which is the best part, growing this 580 Sports Talk community on YouTube. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel. Get us closer to that stretch goal of 900 subscribers, at which point we will all do karaoke on an episode of 580 Sports Talk. It'll be fun. It won't be horrible. We're maybe not great singers, but you don't know that. You won't know until you get us to 900 subscribers, and then you'll find out. We'll all find out together. But we appreciate everybody checking us out on the YouTube stream, as always. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And again, hop in that live chat if you are watching live. Say hello and interact with your fellow listeners. Before we get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines, lead off this 5 o'clock hour, I got one more keyword for today for our fall cash contest at 580WIBW.com. It's super easy to enter. You're going to get this keyword. It's good until 6 o'clock. This is your keyword of the hour. You go to 580WIBW.com. You can do this on your phone or on your tablet or on your desktop. You have desktop computers still? We do.
I mean, yeah. I don't know at home though. Do people?
Yeah, like used to be you had the computer room, right?
Yeah.
You had this experience too? Okay.
We used to have it when I was a young kid.
You're not too young to have had this experience of having the computer room.
When I was a very young kid, the computer room actually used to be at our old kitchen in our house had a desk in the kitchen.
Okay.
Next to the phone. And we used to have to click the old button or, move the thing for dial-up.
Oh, wow. You dial-up.
I witnessed dial-up in my life.
So
I'm not that young.
My dad's been working at home, commuting from home for a very long time, probably since the late 90s. It's when he started working from home. So we were pretty early adopters to what you call DSL technology. So we went away from dial-up pretty quick, but I remember the sound of AOL firing up, connecting via the modem, the 44K modem that way or whatever it was. But yeah, we had the computer room, and now it's just my dad's office at the house. But it used to be that's where they had the desktop. My dad had a desk for his office, and we had another desk for the computer. And if you had to do homework on the computer, you were in the computer room. You went to the computer room to do the computer things. So probably people don't have the computer room so much anymore. Maybe you do. Maybe it's just you have a computer room, but your laptop is plugged in there.
With monitors. Like, so my mom, she has to work from home 2 days a week. Like, her job makes her work from home 2 days a week. And I was like, well, are they giving you like a whole setup? And she's like, yeah, I get 3 monitors to bring home, and I just bring my laptop to and from work. I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I've got a dual monitor set up in my office here. I've got a bigger monitor, and then I use the laptop monitor because I also do not have a desktop in my office anymore. So anyway, where were we? Fall Cash. We're giving away $2,000 every weekday for the next 10 weekdays. So Monday through Friday this week, Monday through Friday next week. Go to 580WIBW.com. Click on the link on the front page. It says $2,000 every weekday for 10 lucky winners. To give yourself a chance to win, to enter to have a chance to win, you're going to need this week's keyword. Left you hanging long enough with that little diversion. But the keyword is radio. Radio is the keyword. RADIO, our bread and butter. Radio is the keyword. Go to 580WIBW.com. Go to our Fall Cash contest. Enter the keyword radio and give yourself a chance to win $2,000 today. That'd be a nice little start to your October. Radio is the keyword for the Fall Cash contest this hour. All right. Get to some headlines, shall we? Today was MIAA Basketball Media Day, and that meant we have preseason polls, media and coaches for MIAA basketball. And the Washburn Ichabods, who are coming off of a Final Four campaign last season and were the outright MIAA regular season champs for the first time since 2004 last year, they are the pick to repeat in the MIAA of both the coaches and the media. Washburn receiving 13 of 14 first-place votes in the coaches poll, and I don't think you can vote for your own team. So that would account for the other vote. Rogers State receiving the other first-place vote. They come in at number 2 in the coaches poll. The media poll, 25 respondents. Washburn getting 23 of the first-place votes. Fort Hays State and Rogers State got first-place votes. They were second and third. Hays was second in the media poll, 4th in the coaches poll. Pitt, 5th in the coaches poll, 4th in the media poll. Emporia State was 9th in the media poll, 10th in the coaches poll. Newman was 11th in the coaches poll and 12th in the media poll in men's basketball in the MIAA. So Washburn tabbed to repeat in the MIAA. What about the women? Washburn actually received the most first place votes in the coaches poll and yet found themselves second overall. So there must be some coaches out there who think they're going to be lousy. I don't know. Yeah. Some coach ranked them like 9th or 10th or something. I don't know. Go figure that. But Washburn, second in the coaches poll and third in the media poll. The Ichabods got 6 first-place votes in the coaches poll. Fort Hays State only got 2 first-place votes, yet they were number 1, and Washburn was number 2. And Pitt, who got 5 first-place votes, was third. Central Missouri got the other first-place vote, and they were 4th. Those same 4 teams all getting first-place votes in the media poll. Pitt State, number 1, according to the media, then Hays, then Washburn, then Central Missouri. As for the other Kansas teams, Emporia State, 10th in the media poll, 11th in the coaches poll, and Newman, 14th, dead last in both women's basketball preseason polls. Washburn was 18-13 last year in women's basketball. They went 11-8 in the MIAA last year. Laura Westling's program on the rise. And the coaches in the media acknowledge that, picking Washburn very high. We say all that to say this. Get yourself out to the new improved Lee Arena this winter and go see some hoops.
I'm excited. I'll be on the call once again this year for the Central Region crossover as it heads down to Oklahoma. I'm excited to see this women's team for Washburn.
Yeah.
Because last year, I didn't get to witness the highs. I got to witness their first game, and they were trying to figure out what lineups are going to match up together.
Yeah, they didn't really hit their stride
team.
until MIAA play, and they returned pretty much every key rotational piece from last season. So really every important rotational piece from last year is back. So, they are going to be fun to watch. And the men, I mean, their resume from last year speaks for itself. And some big losses. It could be hard to replace Jacob Hanna, Braden Shorter, but a lot of real team. Michael Keegan, too, and Andrew Orr. Can't forget those guys. But there are going to be some very talented, very athletic Ichabods that take the floor for Brett Ballard this season. So that's our first headline. What do you got, Spencer?
Yeah, we're going to stay with basketball, and Bill Self keeps cooking. He got a top 50 senior, Davion Adkins, to announce his commitment to KU on Sunday night. He's the fourth player to pick Bill Self and the Jayhawks in the last 8 days. He chose KU over Houston and Rutgers, all which he had visits to in September. He said, quote, "The atmosphere at Kansas football was terrific. Everyone is connected. Fans really support the programs, and basketball team sticks together." He also went on to say, "Coach Self is a winner. He is a great guy off the court. He can be your friend, but when it's time to practice or games, he's going to get competitive." And this is the fourth, as I mentioned. They got 5-star guard Talon Kinney back on September 28th. On Wednesday, 4-star wing Trent Perry. He signed to the class, or committed to the class of 2026, followed up by top 40 junior Javon Bardwell on Friday night. He announced his commitment. So Bill Self seems to be maybe turning his attention from the transfer portal, because guys are going to play 1 year anyway, to let's bring in high school recruits who are probably going to be here for 1, maybe 2 years.
Strong looking class, no question about it. Adkins is 6'9" big man, 7 foot 2 inch wingspan, athletic bigs, committing to KU. Davion Adkins, the latest to do so. Let's keep it hyper local at our 580 Sports Talk. Not hyper local, I suppose, but local in terms of the teams that we cover. Move from college to the pro ranks, and Ann Rogers of MLB.com reporting that the Kansas City Royals will be hiring some new assistant hitting coaches for 2026. Everybody kind of agrees that the outcome on offense was not acceptable for the Royals in 2025. Hitting coach Alex Zumwalt will return for another season. That was certainly not a guarantee as late as the All-Star break, but the Royals did turn themselves around a little offensively. They hit .251 with a .322 on base and a .430 slug as a team in the second half, and their runners in scoring position OPS went from .627 before the break to .864 after the break. So things did improve. That probably saved Zumwalt's job, but it did not save the positions of assistant hitting coaches Keone Duren and Joe Dillon, who will both not be renewed for 2026. As Ann Rogers writes, they are looking to, quote, diversify and balance out the knowledge they have on the staff, not unlike how their pitching department is configured among pitching coach Brian Sweeney, assistant pitching coach Zach Bove, and bullpen coach Mitch Stetter, all of whom bring unique knowledge and backgrounds to help pitchers. On the hitting side, that likely includes someone who has a deep analytical and biomechanical understanding of hitters and their swings. The Royals could also find someone with more prior playing experience who could relate to hitters on the field. There could also be an analyst addition as well. So I know that initially you heard Alex Zumwalt's coming back. You're thinking, oh, God, more of the same. They're going to be, buy into, oh, we're the team we were in the second half and not the team we were for all 162 games on offense. But it sounds like they really do want to change the voices and change the workings of the hitting staff. And if it turns out like the pitching coaching staff has turned out, that could be a really great outcome for the Royals in 2026 and beyond. Next headline.
Yes, the AP Top 25 does not include the preseason number 1 or number 2 as Penn State and Texas fall out of the AP Top 25. Miami rises to number 2. They were at 3 last week. Ohio State stays number 1. Oregon falls to 3. Ole Miss sitting at 4. Texas A&M at 5. Texas Tech is coming in at number 9. Notre Dame at 16. Virginia jumps up to 19. Arizona State at 21. Iowa State 22. And Florida State sitting at 25, barely hanging on there.
So it's Ohio State with 40 of the first place votes, Miami with 21, Oregon with the other 5. Those seem to very obviously be the top 3 teams in the country at this stage. I don't think anybody would argue for the next 3, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, to be in that weight class right now. Indiana, Alabama, Texas Tech, Georgia round out the top 10. You mentioned some of the other Big 12 teams that are ranked. BYU up 5 spots this week, remaining unbeaten. They are 18th. Arizona State up 4 spots, number 21. Iowa State down 8 spots after losing to Cincinnati at number 22. Cincinnati, curiously, not ranked, and I am not really sure why at this point. Their only loss is to Nebraska by a touchdown. And Nebraska, they're not great, but they're not bad. And it was on a neutral field. It was early in the season. I think Cincinnati should be in the top 25. Instead, the new entries into the top 25 this week are undefeated Memphis at number 23 and South Florida at number 24. And again, no Texas and no Penn State. They are both out of the top 25 for the first time since 2022.
I skipped over Baylor or BYU. They're sitting at 18.
Yes, I did mention that. Let's go ahead and wind down the headlines with a playoff roundup, shall we?
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
They are underway in Philadelphia. The Phillies and Dodgers playing Game 2 of their National League Division Series. The Dodgers taking Game 1 of that series 5-3 on Friday night. Dodgers held scoreless in the first inning. Blake Snell is on the mound for the Dodgers. It's another fellow lefty, Jesus Luzardo, who gets the starting nod for the Phillies tonight. Later tonight, an 8:08 first pitch in Milwaukee, Game 2 of the other NLDS between the Brewers and the Cubs. Brewers jumped all over the Cubs in Game 1, scored 6 in the first, 9 in the first 2 innings, and cruised to the victory. Brewers will send southpaw Aaron Ashby to the mound to start against Cubs left-hander Shota Imanaga. Still waiting on the Milwaukee lineup. There's some question about one of their best hitters, Jackson Churio, who had 3 hits in the first 2 innings of Friday's demolition of the Cubs, but then left the game with a hamstring injury. So the Brewers are putting him through the test right now, seeing if he can go. But at this point, we still don't know what the Milwaukee lineup is going to look like. Last night, we had a couple of Game 2s in the American League. The New York Yankees on the brink of elimination. Boo-hoo, so sad. Toronto puts up a 13 spot, including a grand slam from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who joins his dad as the only father-son pairing to hit grand slam home runs in the postseason. There's a little trivia for you. Toronto won that game 13-7. Trey Yesavage, the starting pitcher for the Blue Jays, 5 1/3 no-hit innings with 11 strikeouts.
He's a rookie, right?
Yes. He made all of 3 big league starts in the regular season. And then he came out and he was throwing splitters that were falling from the sky. And the Yankees did not know what to do with him. So the Yankees on the brink of elimination as Toronto leads that best-of-5, 2-0. Seattle and Detroit was awesome. That game went down to the wire. Detroit scored 2 in the 8th to tie the game, but Seattle untied it with back-to-back doubles from Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez off of Nationals great Kyle Finnegan in the bottom of the 8th, leading the Mariners to a 3-2 victory over the Tigers to even that series at 1 game apiece. Crucially, that was Seattle winning a game started by Detroit ace Tarek Skubal, who went 7 innings and allowed just 2 runs on a pair of solo home runs by Jorge Polanco. The Mariners winning at home in the playoffs for the first time since 2001. A 24-year home playoff victory drought extinguished by the Mariners. That series again tied 1 game apiece.
I love how the Yankees are wasting away an Aaron Judge season by getting blown out in these games.
It's wild that a player with his resume is on the brink of another year of his prime without a championship ring for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Who, again, you just kind of took it for granted that the Yankees were going to find their way to a World Series. There have only been a handful of decades in Major League Baseball history where the Yankees have not won a championship. but they're all fairly recent. In the 1980s, they didn't. No, they didn't win one in the 80s. They did not win one in the 2010s, and we are halfway here through the 2020s, and they are again on the brink of elimination. Funniest thing I saw, there was a picture earlier this year. President Trump visited the Yankees locker room, and I got a picture of him shaking hands with Aaron Judge, and the caption is, "Despite their best efforts, these are two men who do not have any power in Canada." I thought that was kind of funny. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. That's your playoff roundup. We will come back with a little bit of college football talk. Who's eaten it the worst this year, Texas or Penn State? We'll debate it next. .30 on 580 Sports Talk. Half an hour from now, pregame coverage from the Chiefs Radio Network. Chiefs, Jaguars, Monday Night Football. Wrapping up week number 5 of the NFL season. We'll get to that in a second. Looking back at week number 6 of the college football season, the two notable results, we mentioned it in the headlines, losses by the preseason number 1 and number 2 teams in the country that caused both of them to drop entirely out of the top 25. Penn State loses to UCLA And it cannot be overstated how shocking that result is. I think just in terms of the shock of it, I think that's the most surprised, most stunned I have been by the result of a college football game since Stanford beat Pete Carroll era UCLA, or USC rather, back in 2007. USC was in their Imperial era, and Stanford was in the first year under Jim Harbaugh, and I think winless. And they went to the Coliseum and beat them. That is mystifying how Penn State could go from, if they had beaten Oregon, they might be the number 1 team in the country, and they lose that game in double overtime, and then they go across the country and they fall behind 20 in the first half to a team that, again, had not led in any of their 4 games. Not won, led. They had not held a lead at any point. They had already fired their head coach. They had just fired their offensive coordinator and promoted Rick Neuheisel's son / doppelganger to replace him. And they won the freaking game. Good for UCLA, first and foremost, but inexplicable loss for Penn State. And it does make you wonder, and Chris Vanini of The Athletic posited this, like, it makes you wonder if Penn State's got to look at their situation with James Franklin and say, hey, maybe this has just gotten as good as it's going to get for us, for this pairing. And maybe we would be better off with a divorce. Maybe it would be better off for that program to move on and for James Franklin to move on. Because with the loss, and let me rephrase, with the win, UCLA head coach, interim head coach, Tim Skipper, now has as many wins over top 10 Big Ten teams as James Franklin. That is the James Franklin experience. That was the whole thing. Like, oh, they're gonna kill everybody they're supposed to kill, but in the big games, they're gonna come up short. Well, they came up short in another big game at home, the whiteout, double overtime, they lose to Oregon, and then they go across the country and they lose to UCLA. And their season, for all intents and purposes, like, I don't think they're gonna win the Big Ten anyway. They got 2 losses. It's hard to see them making the conference championship game. But if they don't win the Big Ten, I'm sorry, I can't put you in the playoff if you lost to UCLA.
Yeah.
I can't, because I don't think UCLA is going to win another game.
No, yeah.
Like, they're going to end up at best 2-10. Can't be in a playoff you lost to a 2-10 team. I'm sorry, you can't. So I don't think that I don't think that's the that's the way to go about it. Maybe any further for Penn State. Texas lost to Florida. DJ Lagway, remember when he threw 5 picks against LSU and looked generally lost and confused by the very concept of the sport of football? He torched Texas's defense yesterday. Florida's offense averaged 7 yards a play. They ran it however they wanted to run it. They threw it to whoever they wanted to throw it to. And DJ Lagway was by far the best quarterback on the field in a game that included a guy who you saw a lot of, not just during the game, but also in every commercial break, Arch Manning. And look, we all have to put our hand up here. Everybody. We were all wrong about Arch Manning. Everybody. The college football media industrial complex, wrong about Arch Manning. Kid's not ready yet. Like, the talent, I think, is still there. I don't think he's like some no talent, only got there because of his name kind of player. Like, some of the arm talent he's got is real. Some of the throws that he makes are big-time throws that other college quarterbacks are not making. He's just not mature enough as a player and good enough yet, frankly, with the lack of a better way to put it, to make those plays over and over again. It is still a learning experience from Arch Manning. I would not like bail and sell all my stock, but it's very clear that he is not the kind of guy you go win a national championship with right now. And it kind of makes last year for Texas make sense, because if he'd have been that guy right away, he would have played last year. And he didn't. They played Quinn Ewers instead. And Ewers definitely wasn't that guy. And now we kind of know right now, Arch Manning isn't either. So, and we all bought in the hype. We all did. And part of it was the last name, and part of it was the insistence by the college football media industrial complex that he was the truth. And some of that was them buying into the last name. And do I think Arch Manning can get there at some point? I do, actually. I do think he is gifted. I just don't think he's there yet. And he's not there, and nothing else is working for Texas. Who's the bigger disappointment? Is it Texas or is it Penn State?
I don't know, because I feel like for Penn State, this is like a normal occurrence where they just can't beat the big teams.
This is like you really get to the heart of the matter here. This is what I expect from Penn State under James Franklin. This is what I expect. I do not expect them to be a serious national championship contender because when they get into the big games, James Franklin's going to turtle up.
That's just what he does. Like it's there. It's on tape, right? It's out there. Everybody knows. So to me, I think it's Texas.
Yeah, I think like they were my preseason pick to win the national championship because I bought into the Arch Manning hype. I did. I got suckered in on that. And again, there are certain plays. He threw a touchdown Saturday to Ryan Wingo in the second half of that game. That's a throw. There aren't like your team's quarterback can't make that throw. Whoever you root for in college football, your team's quarterback can't make that throw. And he made that throw. And it's just putting it together over and over again, hitting the easy button, taking what the defense gives you, processing, like all the stuff that takes some time to learn. Like it's not easy to play quarterback. We just assumed it was going to be easy for this guy with one career start or two career starts, whatever it was last year where he started in place of Ewers and he played bums and he put up crazy numbers against bums. It's not easy. It's really, really hard to do that stuff. And Arch Manning learned it the hard way. So I think that Penn State did put all their eggs into this season's basket. Like, if you want to argue it's Penn State because this was supposed to be the year and they spent big to keep all their guys out of the draft, like Drew Aller, which I would let that dude go to the draft and kept Bo Prabula around. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
But like from that perspective, I think you can argue that Penn State's a bigger disappointment. But like, what do you expect from James Franklin? Like, if you expected a national championship from James Franklin, that's kind of on you. Like, we're all suckers here if we expected more from James Franklin or if we expected more at this stage, apparently, from Arch Manning. Sucker born every minute, right? And all of us, we got suckered by those two teams. No question about it. Big 12 this week. Cincinnati beats Iowa State. Iowa State's defense is leaking oil. They've got some serious injuries on that side of the ball. They're down their two starting cornerbacks, and they couldn't do anything against the Cincinnati offense. I think they scored in the first 7 drives, something like that. Just did whatever they wanted on offense. Iowa State rallied because, of course, they did. They're a mentally tough program. They got a mentally tough quarterback. They rallied. They made it interesting, but Cincinnati holds on. Cincinnati is the second best team in the league right now. Is it Tech and Cincinnati? Like right now.
That's my lean.
Right now.
That's my lean.
I think that's as impressive a win as anybody else has in the league.
Yeah.
Beating a previously unbeaten Texas Tech team. Now, I'm not going to sit here and reverse course and say Cincinnati's going to the conference championship game, but they are playing really good football right now and unexpectedly good football because Brendan Sorsby is playing unexpectedly good football. And this is kind of what it comes down to in the Big 12 at the very least, because this is what the case was last year. When it came to who we did not have a accurate read on going into the season, whether that was we didn't think they were going to be very good and they were, or we thought they were going to be good and they weren't. The difference is always, the primary difference ends up being what kind of quarterback play are they getting? And Cincinnati's better than we thought because Brendan Sorsby's better than we thought. Like last year, Arizona State was better than we thought because Sam Leavitt was better than we thought. And Utah last year was worse than we thought because their quarterback situation was worse than we thought. So it cuts both ways. But I think that's what's happening with Cincinnati is they just have a much better quarterback than we thought they were going to have. And so they have put themselves certainly in that discussion to be a team that potentially plays for a conference championship. Bill Connolly's odds, SP plus based odds for playing for a Big 12 championship or winning the Big 12 championship. Right now, Texas Tech has a 38% chance of winning the Big 12. After that, it's BYU, who, look, they're 5-0, and they're physical. They can run the ball. Defense looks nasty. There's going to be a game where Bear Bachmeier's going to have to make some plays with his arm.
Yeah.
And I don't think he can do that. I don't think he's going to be a guy, if BYU gets put in a big hole early, like they got Colorado put him in a first quarter hole. And they came back in that game, but they knew Colorado wasn't going to sustain that offense. They knew if they stuck to their game plan, they were going to be fine. BYU plays a better team than that. They get behind 14-3, and they got to air it out. I have questions about Bear Bachmeier's ability to do that. But then again, maybe they're just so good on defense that it doesn't matter. They won't get in that spot again. Cincinnati, 10% conference title odds. Utah right behind that at 9.8. Then Arizona State at 7.2. TCU and Arizona both at 5%. Iowa State, 4.5% chance to win the Big 12. Already down to 4.5% for Iowa State. That's only half a percentage higher than Kansas. Do not ask me what Kansas State's title odds are. I think they look like Bluto Blutarski's GPA at this point. But so that's what
they might look better if you can take down Texas Tech. If you upset Texas Tech, they'll look a lot better.
That is true. But right now, it looks like Tech in the field in the Big 12. It really, really does. And that's look, man. If that's what it ends up being, every athletic director in the country is going to call all of the richest owners that they know and say, "Do you have any rich friends who might like to buy us some linemen?" Because that has made all the difference for the Red Raiders. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Some Week 5 NFL thoughts and a final word going into Chiefs-Jags tonight here on 580 WIBW. Can break some news here on 580 Sports Talk for tonight's Jags Chiefs tilt. No Travon Walker for the Jaguars. He had surgery on his wrist earlier in the week. He got to the point where he was a limited participant in Saturday's practice and was listed as questionable, but he is not going to go less than a week removed from wrist surgery. So that is a big loss for the Jags. He was second on the team with 2 sacks. And that is one defender that the Chiefs will not have to account for tonight. Haven't seen the rest of the inactive list. If it comes out before the game, before we're done here on 580 Sports Talk, we'll get the rest to you. But again, no Travon Walker for Jacksonville tonight. Some other quick Week 5 NFL thoughts. Drake Maye's good. Let's start there. I think that we can plant our flag. Like, there's a lot of young quarterbacks in the league right now that we're a little bit unsure of and maybe aren't trending in a great direction. Bryce Young, Michael Penix. Like, there's some quarterbacks last couple of years we're not real sure about. We're still kind of up in the air even on Caleb Williams. Drake Maye's good. He outplayed Josh Allen last night on Sunday Night Football, and New England beat the Bills. And I think the Patriots are trending toward, I agree with Matt Verderame. We had him in the 3 o'clock hour. I think the Patriots are trending toward looking like a playoff team. They've got 3 really easy games coming up. They can stay on the winning track. Mike Vrabel's a winning coach. I think that's a legitimately good team. And Drake Maye looks like the real deal. I think he's very impressive. Really liked what I saw. I'll confess, like, Patriots really haven't been must-see TV here the last couple of years. So I didn't watch Maye a lot as a rookie, but watching him last night, he was the best quarterback on the field in a game that had Josh Allen in it. And that is no small feat. You can do that, then I think you're certified. So Drake Maye, actually good. The Eagles lose to the Broncos. Obviously, that's a big result for the purposes of the AFC West race, because that looked like a certain loss on paper for the Broncos, and they won it. They scored 18 in the fourth quarter. Full credit to Sean Payton going for 2 in the lead when they scored with about 4 minutes to play. They got the 2-pointer and took the 1-point lead, put more game pressure on the Eagles. Thought that was a great call. Love seeing that. Love the gutsiness of that call from Sean Payton. But the Eagles, let me ask you a question, Spencer, see if you know the answer to this one. How many running plays do you think the Eagles called in the second half of their game against the Broncos? How many designed handoffs? Take RPOs out of the equation here. I'm talking about designed handoff plays. How many of those do you think they called in the second half against the Broncos?
Well, I know for a fact, checking in and out on that broadcast, that they are like top 3 in the league in run plays per game. And I know that this was like start of the third quarter. They were significantly lower than that. So I'm going to say like 3.
It was 1.
Okay.
One time. Like, I know it's not been as good a year for Saquon Barkley this season.
He's also hurt
as last, and he's not maybe 100%. But, man, you got to lean into what your strength is. And your strength is not Jalen Hurts throwing the ball 30-odd times.
Yeah.
Even though those wide receivers, I'm sure, were thrilled to get more opportunities to catch the ball. I'm sure A.J. Brown was delighted. I'm sure he had some cool tweets about it that I didn't see. But that's not Philadelphia Eagles football. And they do not have an offensive identity right now. And, like, I know they're the defending champs. They deserve that kind of respect. And I felt coming into the year that they were the pretty clear-cut favorite in the NFC. I do not know who the favorite in the NFC is right now. You mentioned, and we talked about it with Matt Verderame, since their week 1 pratfall against the Packers, the Lions have been the most impressive team in the NFC, but they might run out of guys on defense again at the rate they're going. Terry Arnold out for potentially the season is a massive loss for them. So is it them? Is it Tampa Bay, another team that's oozing injuries and losing guys left and right? Is it, I don't know. I have no idea who the best team in the NFC is right now. Your guess is as good as mine. I just don't think we can assume it's going to be Philadelphia until they figure out their offensive issues. And their offensive issues have nothing to do with the talent on hand and everything to do with what they're being asked to do. That maybe you keep changing offensive coordinators and the brain drain gets to a point where you pick one that's a dud. And Kevin Patullo might be a dud. Five games in, it's hard to have any other conclusion about the play caller there in Philadelphia. I have to mention the stupidest loss of this and maybe any NFL season. The Cardinals losing to the, if we keep it a buck, we're ass Titans.
Yep.
Shout out to Tyler Lockett for scoring his first touchdown in a Titan uniform. Shout out to me for only in that moment remembering that Tyler Lockett was A, still in the league, and B, playing for the Tennessee Titans. If you didn't see it, do yourself a favor and watch the Cardinals intercept a pass at the 5-yard line and somehow turn it into a touchdown on the same play for the Tennessee Titans. Amari DeMercado dropped the ball at the goal line, cost them a touchdown. They end up losing on a field goal at the Horn. I know they've lost. Their 3 losses this year are all by a field goal, and I think all by last-second field goals. I know their Seattle loss was to a last-second field goal. I know their loss yesterday was a last-second field goal. But I am inclined to agree with our friend Matt's evaluation of the Cardinals. They stink and are bad. The teams that they beat are some of the worst in the league, and even they were barely victories. And it might be getting late early for old Jonathan Gannon in Arizona, because that was mind-boggling to lose that football game. Whoever you root for, if you took an L this weekend, whoever you root for, at least it wasn't the Arizona Cardinals. Unless it was the Cardinals, in which case, man, I feel bad for you. Got the Jaguars inactives. Old friend Colin Saunders is inactive tonight. He will not dress for Jacksonville. Neither will defensive lineman Danny Strigow, offensive lineman Wyatt Milam, linebacker Yasir Abdullah, and as we mentioned, Trayvon Walker is inactive. The inactive list includes Christian Fulton, so he is out for a third straight week. Omar Norman Lott will not play tonight. He is on the inactive list. Marlon Tuipulotu was elevated from the practice squad, and he is going to play. Xavier Worthy, active tonight. Now, there was some consternation Saturday night when they threw him on the injury list last minute, had a little ankle soreness, flared up on the plane, but he is good to go.
Yep.
Xavier Worthy is in the lineup for the Chiefs tonight. Omar Norman Lott is inactive. Christian Fulton is inactive. Do you have the rest of that list?
It is not out yet, but it'd be like your normal guys that have probably
the notable inactives are Norman Lott and Fulton.
Yes.
That are not going to play for the Chiefs tonight. We'll take one final break, come back with the final words, send you to Chiefs Jaguars after this on 580 Sports Talk. We got about a minute for a final word here on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yeah, Xavier Worthy gonna play tonight. We obviously talked about that in the last segment, but I'm still with my big Chief pick, Tyquan Thornton. I think he's gonna catch a deep touchdown tonight, and the Chiefs win handedly 31-17.
I like the Chiefs tonight too. I don't see the Chiefs having a game where they turn it over 3 or 4 times. I don't think that's in the DNA of this quarterback, of this offense. And I think that if they do not turn it over, if they are not as profligate with the football as the previous Jacksonville opponents have been, I think the Jags are going to struggle to get the kind of field position that they need to score enough to keep up. I've got 27-17. I do think it goes under the total, but I do think the Chiefs win their 3rd in a row. But they're going to want to start fast because that'll be a lathered up crowd in Duval tonight. And if the Jaguars throw the first punch, it could be an uphill struggle for the Chiefs in that regard. So a good start will be crucial. We'll be back tomorrow to recap it all from 3 until 6. Until then, for Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This has been 580 Sports Talk. The Chiefs are next. Good night.